Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. So in this video, I will be discussing about Hamlet Act 5 summary and analysis. So let's start. So what happened in Act 5 Scene 1? The final act begins with a conversation between two grave diggers as they dig Ophelia's grave. They repeat a rumor that Ophelia committed suicide and wonders whether she ought to be buried in hallowed ground. We learn that the king has overridden the objection of the clergy and provided for her burial. After some witty and macabre banter on the nature of grave digging, Hamlet and Horatio enters. The main grave digger sends his partner off for a cup of liquor and then commences to dig, singing song all the while. Hamlet appears fascinated by the grave digger's indifferences to the gravity of his profession. As the grave diggers throw various skulls out of the grave, Hamlet wonders whom they might have belonged to in life, whether a courtier or a lawyer. Hamlet approaches the grave digger and exchanges witticism about this morbid work. The grave diggers inform Hamlet about the length of time it takes bodies to decay in the ground. He then produces a skull from the graves that he says that has been lying there for 23 years. The grave diggers says that this is the skull of Yorick, the old king's jester. Hamlet is amazed that he knew Yorick and loved him as a child. He takes up the skull and speaks about Yorick, a topic that leads him to consider the nature of mortality more generally. A procession interrupts Hamlet's reveries. Claudius, Gertrude, and Laertes march towards the grave along with a priest and an entourage bearing a body. Hamlet notices that the burial is less elaborate than usual, signifying that the deceased was a suicide. He and Horatio stand aside while Laertes argue with the priest about the paltriness of burial rites. In the course of his arguing with the priest, Laertes reveals to Hamlet that the dead body is that of Ophelia. Gertrude steps forward to say farewell to Ophelia. Laertes follows. In his intense grief, Laertes leaps into his sister's grave to hold her body again and order the grave diggers to bury him alive. Provoked by this show of grief, Hamlet then reveals himself. After grappling with Laertes, Hamlet declares that he loved Ophelia more than 40,000 brothers could. The king and queen dismiss his ovals as madness. Hamlet then exits and Horatio follows him. After they have left, Claudius reminds Laertes of their plan to take care of Hamlet. So this is Scene 1, Act 5. In Scene 2, Act 5, Hamlet explains to Horatio what happened on his journey to England. He says that he strongly suspected Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of foul play, and so decided to apprehend their letter to England. In the letter he found an order for his death. Hamlet then devised a substitute letter asking for the deaths of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. He happened to have signet ring in the shape of seal of Denmark and so sealed the letter. Hamlet then replaced the letter while Rosencrantz and Guildenstern were asleep. At this point, pirates attacked the vessel. As related previously, a courtier, Osric, interrupted Hamlet and Horatio. In very ornate and silly language, Osric declares to Hamlet that Claudius has proposed a contest of swordsmanship between Laertes and he. Hamlet and Horatio mock Osric's pompous and artificial mannerism. Eventually, Hamlet agrees to enter the contest. When Horatio worries that Laertes is better at swordsplay than he, Hamlet declares that he has been in continental practice for some time. A table is prepared and the king, queen, and other figures of state gather to watch the sword fight. Hamlet begs Laertes pardon both for his outburst at Ophelia's grave and for his rash killings of Polonius. Laertes appears to accept this apology but declares that his honor will not be satisfied until they have had their contest. Hamlet and Laertes choose their swords. Laertes nonchalantly chooses the unblunted sword with the envenomed blade. As they prepare to fight, Claudius proposes a drink to Hamlet. The fight begins with Osric as referee. Hamlet wins the first point and King offers him a drink to refresh himself, dropping a poisoned pearl in the wine just before he hands it over. Hamlet declines to take the drink for the time being. The play another round, and Hamlet again wins a point. After this second pass, Gertrude toasts to Hamlet's health. She takes up the poisoned chalice and has drink despite Claudius' protestation. Hamlet and Laertes have a third pass which ends in a draw. After this pass, while Hamlet is unguarded, Laertes wounds Hamlet with poisoned rapier. The scuffle and Hamlet ends up with Laertes' poisoned sword. He wounds Laertes with it. Just then the queen collapses. She declares that she has been poisoned by the drink and then dies. Hamlet asks for the trickery to be found out and Laertes confesses the plan hatched by the king and he. He says that they are both inevitably going to die, having been wounded by poisoned blade. Hamlet takes the embalmed sword and wound Claudius, then forced the king to drink from his poisoned cup. Claudius dies. Laertes asks Hamlet's forgiveness and then also dies. Hamlet, knowing that he is about to die also, asks Horatio to explain this bloody spectacle to the confused onlooker. Horatio, on the contrary, wishes to die with his friend, but Hamlet convinces him to live a while and clear his name. Hamlet declares that Fortinbras should become king of Denmark. He then dies. The rest is silence. A flourish is had, and Osric brings news that Fortinbras has arrived from his victory in Poland with ambassadors from England. Fortinbras enters the court only to find 4 noble bodies sprawled out on the floor. The ambassador from England enters with news that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern have been killed. Horatio explains that Claudius would not have welcomed this news even he had been living to receive it. He orders that the royal bodies be taken up. Horatio further promises to explain the story behind the death, a story full of carnal, bloody and unnatural acts of accidental judgment, casual slaughters, of deaths put on by cunning and unnatural acts. Forced cause. In short, he promises to tell the story of Hamlet. Fortinbras agrees to hear it. He adds that given the death of Danish royalty, he will now pursue his own claims to the throne. Finally, Fortinbras declares that Hamlet shall receive a soldier burial. Some soldier take up his body and bear it from the stage. So that is an end of Hamlet, written by William Shakespeare. So that's all from my side. If you have any queries, you can ask me in the comment section. Please like, subscribe and share my channel. Thank you for watching.